Hank, Big Bang Hank of the Sugarhill Gang was playing Hank Jackson. He was a doorman at a hip hop club in the Bronx. I wrote everything Hank said on Rapper's Delight.
They've been making music for years. So here come these guys and they called it talking, and we were getting more attention than they were, so they freaked them out. So
my favorite songs, it's a tie between the success of Rapper's Delight.
The Sugarhill Gang is finally revealed to be opening up about the biggest controversies that have haunted their legendary career for over 4 decades. These pioneers of hip-hop are breaking their silence on the stolen lyrics, financial betrayal, and identity theft that turned their success into a nightmare. This is the untold story of how the group that brought hip-hop to the world became victims of one of music history's most shocking exploitation schemes. Their most famous song, Rapper's Delight, changed everything for hip-hop in 1979. The track introduced the genre to a global audience and proved that rap music could sell millions of records. It became the first hip-hop song to break into the Billboard Top 40, reaching number 37 in January 1980. The song sold over 10 million copies worldwide, making Wonder Mike, Master G, and Big Bank Hank household names overnight. But this massive success was built on a foundation of stolen creativity and broken trust that would haunt the group forever. The problem started immediately with how the song was created. Businesswoman Sylvia Robinson put the group together in a single weekend in New Jersey. She didn't recruit established rappers from the thriving New York hip-hop scene. Instead, she grabbed 3 guys who happened to be available. Big Bank Hank was working at a pizzeria when he got recruited. Wonder Mike and Master G came from the surrounding neighborhood. This wasn't about finding the best talent or respecting the culture. It was about making money as fast as possible. The entire formation prioritized speed and profit over creative integrity. Robinson saw an opportunity and moved quickly to capture it without regard for authenticity. The song itself was created through the 2 major acts of theft. First, the music was sampled directly from the disco hit Good Times by Cheek Cheek. When Cheek's Nile Rodgers found out, he threatened to sue. Sugarhill Records quickly gave him writing credit and paid him royalties. Problem solved for the powerful, established artist. But the second theft was far more damaging and revealed the label's true character. Big Bank Hank stole his entire verse, word for word, from Grandmaster Caz's rhyme book. Caz was a respected MC who trusted Hank because Hank was managing his group, the Cold Crush Brothers. When Hank asked to borrow his rhyme book, Caz said yes, thinking it would help his own career if the song became popular. He had no idea Hank would use his words verbatim and claim them as his own. The evidence of this theft is impossible to deny. Hank used the lyrics exactly as written, without changing a single word. He was so inexperienced as a rapper that he didn't even know to change the words to fit his own identity. On the actual recording, Hank literally spells out Casanova Fly, which was Grandmaster Caz's stage name, not his own. He performed another man's identity on what became one of the most famous songs in music history. This wasn't borrowing or collaboration. It was straight up plagiarism and personal betrayal of the worst kind. The contrast between how the label handled these 2 thefts reveals everything about the music industry's power dynamics. Cheek had lawyers and industry connections, so they got credited and paid. Grandmaster Caz was an emerging artist with no legal representation, so his work was stolen without consequence. The label showed it would only respect intellectual property when forced to by those with power. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into music history. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think is worse: Big Bank Hank stealing his friends' lyrics, or the label stealing millions from the artists. We want to hear your thoughts. The hip-hop community never forgave Big Bank Hank for what he did. In the early days of rap, there was an unwritten code that your lyrics had to be your own. Originality was everything. Even without formal copyrights, the culture demanded authenticity. Hank broke that code in the worst possible way. He was permanently exiled from hip-hop credibility. The Sugarhill Gang became cultural outsiders, seen as fake artists who didn't deserve their success. People would approach Grandmaster Caz on the street, congratulating him for being on the radio, and he had to repeatedly deny it was his voice. The betrayal destroyed Caz's group, the Cold Crush Brothers. because Hank kept their sound equipment when he left to join the Sugarhill Gang. Even worse, Hank was publicly booed at shows in New York for years. The shame followed him his entire life. Unlike Chichi C, who got paid and credited, Grandmaster Caz never took legal action and never received a single dollar in royalties. He chose to let the culture judge Hank instead, and that judgment was brutal and permanent. The hip-hop community's rejection was more powerful than any lawsuit could have been. But the stolen lyrics were just the beginning of this story. The real nightmare was what Sugarhill Records did to Wonder Mike and Master G. While Big Bank Hank faced cultural exile for his theft, these two founding members were being systematically robbed by their own record label. They claimed they were bilked out of millions of dollars in royalties from Rapper's Delight. After receiving small initial payments, the label told them their accounts were always in the red. According to the Robinsons, who owned Sugarhill Records, the artists never made enough money to deserve more payments. This was a complete lie designed to keep the profits for themselves. Within 5 years of creating an international smash hit, Wonder Mike and Master G left the label completely broke. Master G reported being penniless. Wonder Mike had to paint houses just to survive. These were the men who brought hip-hop to the world, and they were forced to work menial jobs for 2 decades while fighting a legal battle just to get what they earned. The song had sold over 10 million copies, generating millions in revenue, but the artists who performed it couldn't pay their bills. This type of exploitation has a long history in the music industry, especially with Black artists whose work generates massive profits while they receive almost nothing. The pattern goes back to the 1920s and represents systemic theft dressed up as business. The situation got even more twisted when Sugarhill Records didn't just steal their money, the label tried to steal their identities. Joey Robinson Jr., the son of the label's founders, filed documents with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office claiming he owned the group name, the Sugarhill Gang. Even worse, he claimed he owned Wonder Mike and Master G's individual stage names. This happened as early as 2000. By taking ownership of their names, the label stripped these men of the ability to perform and make a living from their own legacy. Sugarhill Records sent cease and desist letters to venues to try to book the real artists. Instead, the label paraded fake bands around the world performing under the Sugarhill Gang name while the real members watched helplessly. This was an attempt to erase Wonder Mike and Master G from music history entirely. They couldn't tour as themselves. They couldn't use the names they had performed under for decades. The label was trying to cleanse them from existence while continuing to profit off their work and reputation. The artists always claimed the Robinsons were hiding massive amounts of money from royalty payments. For years, this seemed like just another case of artists versus their label with no way to prove who was telling the truth. But then the government proved the artists were absolutely right. In 2012, 3 sons of Sylvia and Joe Robinson pleaded guilty in federal court to tax evasion. Joseph Robinson Jr., Leland Robinson, and Rondo Robinson admitted they failed to file tax returns for multiple years between 2005 and 2008. The income they hid came directly from royalties generated by the extensive Sugarhill Records catalog, including Rapper's Delight. The total tax loss to the government was over $1.2 million. This was criminal behavior, not just poor business practices. This criminal conviction proved everything the artists had been saying for decades. The Robinson family was receiving massive royalty income during the exact same period. They were telling Wonder Mike and Master G that their accounts were in the red and no money was available. The family wasn't just failing to pay the artists fairly. They were actively running a criminal system to hide royalty income from both the artists and the government. This was systematic fraud, not just a business dispute or contractual disagreement. The artists had been telling the truth for decades about being cheated, and now a federal court confirmed it with criminal convictions that couldn't be denied. The Sugarhill Gang weren't the only victims of this corrupt system. Other major artists on Sugarhill Records fought similar battles for justice. Members of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and the Funky 4+1 were involved in almost 40 years of litigation against the same label. They alleged the exact same type of fraud and exploitation. These artists eventually won, reaching a settlement that included back royalties and guaranteed that future royalties will go directly to them instead of being filtered through the Robertson family. The same lawyer who represented these groups also represented Wonder Mike and Master G. This wasn't one bad contract or an isolated incident. It was a systemic, fraudulent business practice that the label used against every artist on its roster. Sugarhill Records pioneered both the commercial hip-hop genre and the systematic exploitation of hip-hop artists. For Wonder Mike and Master G, the fight stopped being about money years into the battle. It became about reclaiming their history and their right to exist as artists. The 2012 documentary, I Want My Name Back, told their heartbreaking story to the world. The film showed 30 years of psychological and financial trauma. It documented how fake versions of the group toured successfully while the real members struggled to survive and pay basic bills. The documentary called it a nightmarish tale of manipulation, intellectual property fraud, and old-fashioned show business crookedness. Director Roger Paradiso said the label's attempt to take their names was exploitation that had never before happened in music history. No other artist had faced having their actual identities stolen and trademarked by their label. The legal battle that started around 2008 finally ended with what the documentary called a shocking settlement and a bittersweet ending. The specific financial details stayed private under the terms of the agreement, but the outcome was crystal clear. Wonder Mike and Master G successfully reclaimed their professional identities in the group name after nearly 3 decades of fighting. By 2016 and 2017, they were touring the world again as the Sugarhill Gang with new members Hen Dog and DJ T Dynasty. They had won back their right to perform under their own names and control their own legacy. Wonder Mike said it simply. It's not about greed. It's about getting his fair cut and nothing more. The victory wasn't measured in dollars at that point. It was measured in their ability to prevent being erased from music history and to cement their legacy as true pioneers who fought back against corporate greed. Despite everything they went through, despite the stolen lyrics, the financial fraud, the identity theft, and the decades of brutal legal battles, the Sugarhill Gang's legacy remains secure today. They brought hip-hop to the world when nobody believed it could succeed commercially. Rappers' Delight opened doors that changed music forever and created an entire industry worth billions. The 15-minute track recorded in a single take became a cultural phenomenon that proved hip-hop belonged in the mainstream. But their story also became the most important cautionary tale in modern music history about intellectual property theft and financial exploitation. Their perseverance in fighting back and reclaiming their names was a triumph that proved talent and creativity must be protected and respected, not exploited and erased. They were pioneers who not only created a genre, but successfully fought the predatory system that tried to destroy them and steal their history. Their struggle shows that artists must always protect their rights and never trust labels to act in good faith without proper legal protection. If you found this story as shocking as we did, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who loves hip-hop history. These stories need to be told so future artists can learn from the past and avoid the same traps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.